Carmen from CPA Ontario, we have Alison from CPA Ontario, and then we have a presentation by a small welcome address by ICAP Canada Chapter's President Shamshad. After that, Alison will give us a brief introduction, brief presentation, and then we'll jump into the question and answer session where you can ask questions about how to pass CPA. What we'll do after that is we have a few people lined up. Aisha Masood is there, Hassan Wasif is there, Akif will be joining us, and then we'll have a small session with them asking how did they pass the exam and what did they do with that. Being said that, why don't I let Carmen start the session.
You started it, thank you, Ralph. So welcome everyone and a very good evening. On behalf of CPA Ontario and the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Pakistan, it is my pleasure to welcome each one of you for this evening's event. Joining me today is my colleague, Alison Alderson, who's the admission specialist in the Registrar's Office with CPA Ontario. Thank you, Alison, for joining us today. Alison will be delivering the presentation for us, and she'll also be open to taking any questions that you have. She is the mighty know all about the MoU with ICAP. So we are really happy to see so many of you here this evening. This promises to be an exciting event. We have a great agenda, as Ralph just narrated the different components of it. So just a bit about myself. As a manager at CPA Ontario student recruitment team, I spend a lot of time telling people about the CPA designation and the benefits of being a member of CPA Ontario, one of the largest professional accounting bodies in Canada. So we're just over 87,000 members and 19,000 students in the CPA program. As most of you are aware, CPAs hold a wide range of senior positions across all sectors and are valued for their leadership, financial and business expertise, and strategic thinking. You would also know that CPAs work in organizations of all types and sizes, from banks and factories to software developers and not-for-profits. So accountants are truly at the heart of business and finance in Ontario, and CPAs are recognized leaders in the field. So our goal is to continue to educate and elevate our membership to exhibit an ongoing commitment to excellence, providing the highest standards of accounting, ethics, professional business practices. So this evening, you'll have an opportunity as an ICAP member to learn more about the MoU with ICAP and specific pathway towards the CPA designation. You will also hear from your peers and fellow ICAP members that have recently written the CFE, their first-hand experience pursuing the CPA designation. So it is a full agenda, so let's get started. Thank you everyone for joining us this evening, and I hope you make the most of it, okay? So over to Alison now, who will be delivering the present. Oh, sorry, okay.
That's okay.
My bad. Okay, and over to Shamshad, who will be kind of giving his address on behalf of ICAP. Thank you, Shamshad.
Thank you. So when you pass your CA exams from Pakistan, you have thought that's it, right? No. There is CPA Canada as well, CPA. Anyways. So I haven't printed my short notes. So I'm trying to read from my cell phone, so let's see how it goes. So this is the first time I'm using technology this way. Okay, let's see. Hi everyone, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to this session on the recently signed Memorandum of Understanding signed between ICAP and the CPA Canada on behalf of provincial and territorial institutes. This is one of the most important events to have happened in chapter's history, and it is the most significant achievement of the Institute for its members in Canada. This is the first MoU that the CPA Canada has signed after the merger of the 3 accounting bodies in Canada. The managing committee of the chapter is privileged and proud to have provided support and coordination in the process. I congratulate the Institute and the members on this great achievement. And I believe we'll have a very fruitful relationship with CPA Ontario. Just a brief, under the terms of the MoU, ICAP members with 2 years post-qualification experience and 5 years for those without a bachelor's degree can directly write the CFE. After passing CFE, ICAP members can become members of the provincial or territorial institutes, such as CPA Ontario. This membership will not provide audit rights for which additional requirements need to be completed. And Alison may...
Stealing my presentation.
No, okay, sorry. I'll stop there. So the management committee of the chapter is holding this information session for its members to address the various questions you may have on the MoU process, how to register, and how to apply, which I will not steal from you. So after that, you'll have an opportunity to ask questions. So I'm sure there are questions that people will have, so Alison, be ready for those. So with that, without further ado, I'll hand it over to Alison. Take it from me.
Thank you very much. I've been told that I'm pretty loud, so can everybody hear my voice without my having to use the microphone? Is that okay?
Alison, we're recording it as well, so maybe use my.
Oh, no, now you're gonna make me nervous.
That's okay.
Okay, so you all know who I am. I'm the admissions specialist at CPA Ontario. I'm here to talk about specifically designed for you this presentation, members in good standing of ICAP. We're going to talk about the requirements for student registration with CPA Ontario under the new MoU, and we're going to discuss the requirements for admission to membership under the new MoU. Okay, and as previously noted, it's just admission to membership. We're not going to talk about licensing. Okay, those are separate requirements that are being worked out. So the new CPA program has been approved for licensure by the Public Accounts Council of Ontario, but we're still working out the details for members of ICAP because you're not completing the entire program. They're working out what you're going to need to do to get a license should you choose to apply for one after admission. Okay, before we get into the nitty-gritty, I just wanted to clarify a few things. I'm sure all of you here are members in good standing of ICAP, but in case you know someone who is not, it's important to know the difference between what we call an IEP, which is an internationally educated professional, someone who has a university degree from outside Canada, and then there's an ITA, which is an internationally trained accountant, someone who has successfully completed the education exam and experience requirements of a professional accounting body outside Canada and is a member in good standing of that body. Okay, so that would presumably be everyone here in this room. Someone who has not completed a qualification program, perhaps they started and then they stopped for whatever reason, they don't get any advanced credit in our program for having partially started a program. You either complete the program or you don't. So obviously we encourage people, if at all possible, if they've started, perhaps finish, depending on how far they've come in the program. Okay, so the new Memorandum of Understanding, which we call an MoU or MoU for short, was adopted in principle in February of this year and became effective with CPA Ontario in April. So we adopted it in principle and then we had to update forms and websites and send out broadcast emails and do all the nitty-gritty that made this possible. That all happened in April. Okay, so this is very, very new. And it allows qualifying ICAP members an even faster route to the Canadian CPA designation. And so we'll get into all of the requirements. So In order to register as a student under this new MoU category, you must be a member in good standing of ICAP, and you must have been admitted to ICAP by completing ICAP's qualifying examinations. So in other words, you can't have been admitted by a mutual recognition agreement or some sort of advanced standing, okay? If you've completed some but not all examinations, that might be something that we can assess, but generally speaking, you have to have completed the qualifying examinations and not been admitted by some sort of mutual recognition agreement. Okay, in order to register, we're going to need some paperwork. We're big on paperwork. If you haven't heard that rumor before, it's true. First, we're going to need a letter of good standing from ICAP confirming your membership in good standing, or we have a specific form that's been designed which they can fill out and send back. One or the other is fine, we don't need both. We also have 2 application forms. The first is the International Candidate Application Form that was created by our national body. So we use that. It collects general information, address, employment, that kind of thing. And then the CPA Student Registration Form 61A, which is specific to CPA Ontario and gets a little more involved in terms of exemptions requested, that kind of thing. So it's more specific to the internationally trained as well. We also require student fees, and I get into that a little bit later. It is written on the form. And CPA Ontario's Academic Code of Conduct. That is a 3-page document which you read and then sign a date and submit, promising to adhere to our Code of Conduct policy. And we require proof of your legal name. So we accept anything listed on there. It's also listed on our website and on our form. It includes a birth certificate or equivalent, government-issued documentation, passport, both sides of a Canadian citizenship certificate card, both sides of a PR card, or landed immigrant papers. All of those, any of those would be sufficient. We also require a chronological resume listing all of your professional work experience. And if you happen to be a member in good standing of any other accounting bodies around the world, we also require a letter of good standing from that accounting body. Okay, once you're approved for registration by the registrar, there isn't a lot to do anymore compared to the old requirements. It's pretty exciting. You guys are exempt from a lot of the program, and basically you need to pass the Common Final Examination, otherwise known as the CFE. If you've heard that term before. We're big on acronyms. We put all the letters together and we just slur them together, the CFE. And you're also required to do the prescribed practical experience requirement. Now there's a little asterisk beside that, because as members of an accounting body outside Canada, you're actually eligible to apply for an exemption from this requirement. And I get into that in a little bit as well, okay? So that is it in a nutshell. But we have some other information that we believe would be very helpful for you in your registration and your pursuit of admission to membership here at CPA Ontario. The first is Module 0. I don't know if any of you have gone to our website at all or have had friends that have gone through the program, but you hear rumors of Module 0, but a lot of people are unclear about this. So I just wanted to take a moment. I've got a slide on Module 0 here. It's a free, I emphasize that because not much that we offer is free. It's a free self-assessment tool designed to help fill any knowledge gaps and or refresh your knowledge prior to starting the modules, okay? Students are expected to be familiar with the material that's in Module 0 before they begin. So our CPA students that were graduates of university here in Ontario or other internationally trained accountants that start earlier in the program, they need to do Module 0 before they begin our professional education program. So if for some reason you look at Module 0 and you see the content and you say to yourself, I'm familiar with this, I don't need to do it, that's fine. You're under no obligation to do it. But what you do need to do is select no topics required, because there is a technical component that's associated with Module 0 with registration for any of our modules and examinations. So you wouldn't be eligible to register for the CP until you select that on Module 0. It's our way, I guess, of making sure that you know this is available, it also gets you familiar with our online system D2L, okay? Because by going in and doing it, you become a little bit familiar with our online program, which is something that may be beneficial if you choose to do some other modules before the CP, which I'm going to get into in a minute. So because it's free and it's an online resource, as soon as you're registered as a student, you can do it at any time, okay? And it's, as I say, when you go online, you can check it out, but it's divided into different areas, so you can choose which ones you want to refresh, perhaps, or look at. You don't even have to do the whole thing, you can just do parts, or as I say, none of it at all. It's really up to you. Okay? Now, Capstone 1. Right in the banner, I have optional for MoUs, because for you guys, completely optional. I'm not here to tell you absolutely have to do Capstone 1, because that's not true. But I wanted you to have this information because when the professional program was created, by those that created it, Capstone 1, Capstone 2, and the CP were designed to go together. And I just want to, if you want to go right to the CP, absolutely, that's your right, and you can absolutely do that. But if you want to, you have the ability to do Capstone 1 and Capstone 2 first. If you want that additional choice, that additional opportunity to help prepare for the CP. Completely your choice, but I just want to give you a little bit of information. I'm not well versed in this area. I know our panelists that are coming up will probably have more information, having gone through the program themselves. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of information. It's an integrated module. It develops leadership skills, professional skills, and obviously as members of a respected professional body outside Canada, these are things that we would expect you to have. But it's also an integration of the competencies that our students here in Ontario are required to have. And sometimes, depending on how long you've been out of the program and how long you've been in the workforce, you may find a refresher helpful. Okay? Again, completely up to you. I'm not here to tell you to do it. I'm just telling you that it's an option, which is great because it would be awful for us to say you go right to the UFI and you don't have a choice as to whether or not you want to go back and do some prep first. This way you have an option, and that should be helpful if you choose to do it. The main focus, other than the three first bullets I have on there, is apparently you guys work on a large business case and then at the end of the module make a presentation. So the majority of the module is done online. There's a weekend where you get together and work together as a group, and then you, in your off hours, get together throughout to work on this case as a group, and then you make a presentation at the end of the module, okay? Again, I'm sure you'll get more information from somebody who's been through it. I freely admit I have not been through it. I'm not an accountant. Numbers scare me, but that's okay. I've worked at CPA Ontario for going on 19 years now, and it's a great place to work, and I am super excited to be able to be in this position to tell people about the different pathways that we offer internationally trained accountants. It's one of my many perks. So I'm just happy to be here and to tell you what I know about the process. But as I say, I can't get into the truly nitty-gritty of the capstones because I myself have not taken it. Capstone 2 is our exam preparation module. So it immediately follows Capstone 1. You continue to develop case writing skills, and ultimately it's helping prepare you for the CP, okay? It focuses on preparing students for entry into the profession by applying competencies acquired through our CPA program. So obviously you would have a lot of those competencies from back home, but sometimes again you may want to refresh yourself before beginning our CP. The common final examination is offered every September. It's a 3-day examination, and students are required to demonstrate depth and breadth of competency development in accordance with our CPA competency map. So we have a copy of the competency map on our website as well, so you can get some information about that before starting the CP. Basically, the map outlines the knowledge, the skills, the proficiency levels that you must have as a Canadian CPA. So these are things that we're looking to ensure you have acquired. That's when they're marking the CP, okay? What you need to demonstrate. Okay, so demonstrate depth on the CP in either financial reporting or management accounting, and depth in one other technical area, which we call our elective depth role, because you elect to choose which one you want. And you must demonstrate breadth in all 6 technical competencies. So I've just taken a snapshot from our website of the chart that's up there that lists the technical competencies. Our competency map and the supplemental document that goes along with it gives you examples of both technical and enabling competencies, so you can see what we mean by that, what you would be demonstrating if you had those competencies. Candidates who fail day 1 of the CP can reattempt the next sitting of day 1, and candidates who fail day 2 or 3 of the CP must reattempt both days. And obviously, if you fail all 3 days, then you have to write all 3 days again. We have a maximum number of times a student can write the CP, and that's 3 times. Okay, so if you fail 3 times, then you would be deregistered as a student, and you can apply to re-register, and that would be up to the registrar to determine if you can be re-registered as a student. Okay, that's the current requirements. Obviously, things could change, but right now it's 3 times. I don't know if you heard in the old world, our UC was 4 times. I don't know exactly why they changed it. It's very possible that because the capstones are designed to help ensure success, that they felt that 3 times should be good, but I don't know. Again, I didn't write it, but it is a maximum of 3 times, okay? And that's Canada-wide. Our experience requirements. So I alluded to this earlier. There are 2 types of exemptions for ICAP members, and we're still developing this because, as I said, it's a very new agreement. So ICAP members are granted an exemption from our experience requirement, which is currently 30 months, if you have obtained a recognized university degree and more than 2 years of post-qualification experience, or more than 5 years of post-qualification experience. So that's if you don't have a degree, okay? So eligibility for this exemption, this automatic exemption, if you will, is determined upon receipt of your completed student application for student registration. So we look at your resume and your application to determine whether or not you've met that requirement, okay? If you haven't met the requirement, then we need to do a detailed experience assessment, which is what we do currently for all our other internationally trained accountants, which is something that takes place after your student registration. So we would let you know you've been approved for registration, you haven't been automatically granted an exemption, so we're going to need some additional paperwork from you, and you would fill it out and return it. The registrar would review all these requests. The registrar makes all decisions related to experience assessments registrations. He's a very, very busy man. And it's important to note that while this is going on, either because you're getting the documents together or because we need to go through it, we constantly have files that we're assessing, so we're always busy with that. You are eligible to register in any of the capstones or the CP while you're waiting for this assessment, okay? One doesn't hinge on the other. Experience and the professional program are 2 separate things, So we just want to emphasize that because sometimes people think that they need to wait for that and they miss deadlines. And we really like to emphasize that to people so that you don't miss any important deadlines. That you are good to go in terms of registration as soon as your student registration has been approved. Now, it's important to talk about timelines because you really need to have an idea of how things work and what to expect from us, okay? So processing an application for student registration can take 8 to 12 weeks depending on volumes, right? Capstone 1 module, if you were interested in taking that, usually the registration for Capstone 1 takes place during the month of February. So the module itself starts in mid-May, but registration starts much earlier. As an example, this year was February 1st to February 28th. It takes place early because there's a lot of work that goes into it by our learning department. They have to put everybody into groups, they have to hire a certain number of facilitators, they have to get locations and venues depending on how many people enroll. So, because I myself questioned it, I was like, why is this so early? Most people tend to be a little more last minute. Why is it so early? So that's the explanation I got, and that, to be fair, does make sense. CPA registration, if you weren't going to do the capstones, usually takes place in April to May. So for example, this year, the CPA registration deadline is May 31st, okay? So the exam itself, as noted earlier, takes place in September. And again, there's a lot of work to be had in terms of venues and whatnot. So it takes place to the end of May, usually, this year as an example, May 31st. So we suggest that when you're preparing your application, you keep these timelines in mind. So for example, if you were dead set on writing a CPA in 2018 and you didn't want to write the capstones, then you have a little more leeway. Your application should probably be coming in January, just to make sure we have time to process it and get the information to you so that you then in turn have time to register for the CP. But if you were interested in writing Capstone 1, my suggestion would be, because a lot of people like to register for Capstone 1, that you get it in before the holidays even, if possible, okay? Because the last thing we want is for you to submit it, have your heart set on writing or attending a module, and then it ends up in a stack, and I mean a stack, of applications that come in all at once, right? We do our best, but obviously we can only do so much. So we work hard and we certainly put in extra time during peak periods, but we would prefer not to have so many peak periods if possible. So that's our recommendation, okay? So the timelines, we talk about how long registration takes on our website, so that you have an idea, but we never really put it in perspective in terms of the other timelines that may be applicable to you. So I'm hoping that this is helpful for you. Costs. Okay, so you guys are accountants. I can't get away without talking about what this is going to cost you. When you apply for student registration, the cost varies. It's prorated on the time of year. So a student who submits their application January 1 to June 30th would pay, including tax, these are all tax included, so there's no hidden fees in here, it's all, the full fee is $819.25. And if you submit your application the last half of the calendar year, it's $480.25. Now I know I just said I encourage you to submit your application before Christmas, and I'm not saying that as a money grab, because our students then pay $600 plus tax, $678, to maintain their annual student fee each year. So what happens is when we get applications in December, I think even towards the end of November, we contact them and we say, hey, did you know that you're going to be billed the annual student fee come January? And so what we do is we arrange to have them pay the full $819.25 with their written consent, obviously, and then we don't bill them the annual student fee for that upcoming year. So then they're paying what they would have January, but their application comes in and is processed before January 1, if that makes sense, okay? Because we want you to have full advantage of the timelines without having to worry about, oh my gosh, I'm gonna pay $600 more if I just don't wait, right? So anyway, so that's what that is. And the capstones are, the two capstones, 1 and 2, are $1,469 each. Again, that includes tax. And the common final examination is $1,695, including tax. So again, you don't have to do the capstones, but if you do, obviously, you have to pay for it as well. So that's just a snapshot. These costs are available on our website. We have a schedule of dues in our members handbook, so you can go through it and see the different costs. But it's always nice to have a quick summary because not all student costs are relevant to you. You're not doing other modules, you're not having transcripts assessed. So I just wanted to give you sort of a snapshot of the costs that were specific to you, obviously minus the capstones if you weren't doing those. Benefits of membership. So we just talked about money, so we just want to talk about the benefits of membership in CPA Ontario. The first and probably most popular reason for membership is by becoming a member of CPA Ontario, you're permitted to use the CPA designation in Ontario, okay? As the governing body, no one is allowed to use the CPA in Ontario unless they're a member of our organization. So that includes other accounting bodies around the world. And you're permitted to use designations from other jurisdictions once you're a member of our accounting body, okay? So,
one question.
yes?
Second bullet point, does that mean if you're not a CPA, you cannot use any other designation?
That's right. I mean, there's a couple of exceptions to that rule. Obviously, your resume is going to explain that you're a member in good standing of ICAP. Your covers letters may allude to that when you're looking for employment. But in terms of business cards and the top of your resume where you have your name and then you have comma CA, you're technically not supposed to use that in Ontario because even with Pakistan in brackets, it's hard for the public to confirm that if there's, if they want to, right? As a regulatory body, we're constantly fielding calls for people double checking that the person is who they say they are and they're a member in good standing. So currently, the way the legislation is in Ontario, you're not supposed to use the designations unless you're a member in good standing of CPA Ontario. And then you can use all of them with the permission and regulations of those bodies. So for example, some bodies, if you leave the country, they require you to put it in brackets or who knows, right? So there's various rules that you're gonna have to look into, but currently the way things are now, you can't be using the